Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Spincast. Today we have with us Luke TROTZ. He is from St. Francis University up in Pennsylvania. He is the assistant director slash esports coach slash variety of titles that he will get into for sure here in a minute. So without further ado, Luke, go ahead and introduce yourself. And tell us the backstory. So how did your path take you all the way to St. Francis, kind of helping run this esports program? Where did it start? What sparked everything? And then kind of lead us on from there.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle, and thank you for having me on Spincast.
You're
This is an
welcome.
awesome opportunity to share my love for esports and what we're doing over at St. Francis. So this is my fourth year at St. Francis in the Center for Student Engagement and Leadership Development. However, this is only our first year for esports. So in my role, we do a lot of activities and events outside of the classroom: homecoming, family weekend, student government, Greek life, really keeping students engaged, active on campus, all that co-curricular development and that personal development outside of the classroom. And last summer, 2019, we were lucky enough to be in a position where we were renovating our entire student center. We had some repurposed funds and some donations, and we were looking to remodel our entire eatery in our student center. And so along with that conversation, we asked ourselves, how can we best utilize this space? How can we make our JFK Student Center a destination for students? How can we have them come, spend time, hang out with their friends, not just eat and leave? It's a student center. We wanted students to be in there engaging and having fun. And prior to that conversation, I didn't know this, but our president was actually already looking into esports. And so all roads, when this opportunity came about, led to esports. The back conversations that he was having, the space that we had available, the funds that we had available, and the current emergence of esports within the collegiate industry. And so we knew we wanted to jump on this wave early, be ahead of the game, and we took full advantage of being able to offer esports at St. Francis, and that allowed us to be the first Division I institution in PA with a varsity esports program.
Awesome. That's incredible. The first varsity in Pennsylvania. That's great. I do know from everyone that I've been talking to, getting that varsity tagline is actually difficult for a lot of schools, especially in Division One, because there is a number of red tape, so to say, around Division One, especially when you're talking about sports programs. So that's phenomenal that you guys were able to attain that. So looking now that have that tagline as a varsity esports program, kind of go talk us through what is involved in the esports program. What games do you guys have? What teams do y'all have developed? And kind of share some insight in that inner circle.
Yeah, definitely. So for those that don't know a lot about St. Francis, we're actually the second smallest Division I school in the country. We already have 22 Division I traditional athletic programs. And every year you'll see one of those traditional athletic teams pop up in a national tournament. So even though we're hidden among the pines in little Loretto, Pennsylvania, our traditional programs do an awesome job competing on the field and on the court. And so when we implemented esports, we wanted this to just be another way to put St. Francis on the map through a best practice program that students want to be a part of, and drawing quality students in to participate and earn one of our world-class academic degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first thing that we were doing when we were establishing the program was just looking at ways to legitimize.
Mm-hmm.
And that, of course, led us to the National Association of Collegiate Esports, or NACE.
Mm-hmm.
For those that aren't familiar, NACE is essentially the NCAA for esports. The NCAA right now does not oversee collegiate esports, and so NACE found this as an opportunity to come in and bring some governance to collegiate esports and help having a set standard across the board for colleges. And so we knew we had to be a member of them, especially because they really set that bar for what is a varsity esports
Mm-hmm.
program. For NACE to be considered varsity, you need to have a dedicated staff, a dedicated facility, and offer scholarships. And we have all three of those at St. Francis. To continue on to a question, Kyle, in terms of game titles, we offered for our first year 5 different game titles: Hearthstone, Rocket League, Overwatch, League of Legends, and Smash Ultimate.
Hmm.
And we do offer scholarships throughout all game titles. And just like your traditional sports, if we have someone that fits a need for our team or fits our program in a certain way, we might recruit them a little harder or give them a little more scholarship, all based on your projection and how we see you fitting into our program. So similar to if a traditional team needed a quarterback or if you needed a good pitcher for baseball or football, those students might get recruited a little heavier. Using a game, for example, like League of Legends, if we need a really good mid laner,
Hmm.
we might need to recruit that person a little heavier or make the offer a little more enticing. Um, and then for next year, we're also launching 3 new game titles. We're going to be adding Fortnite, Madden, and NBA 2K to our list of teams that we compete in.
Awesome. Sounds like you already have a great program going with those games. Those are definitely the traditional esports: League of Legends, Rocket League, Hearthstone, all major titles. For those of you who don't know, and then looking forward to the future, bringing in some of those more traditional games in Madden, FIFA, much more relatable from the outside of esports community. I do want to go back and touch on one thing you said earlier. You said that you had a facility. So I want to hear a little bit more about that. Describe your facility for the audience out there and kind of what goes into, building and maintaining an esports facility at a Division I university.
Yeah, certainly. So when it comes to esports, the one thing that we saw when we were looking at other colleges and their programs was that they were finding any room they could, and they were putting as many PCs as they could in the room, lining up tables, putting PCs facing each other, and they were only concerned about the competition aspect. But esports is much, much more than that. At St. Francis, we refer to ourselves as the Flash Fam. It's all about community. And so we wanted to make sure that we were building that community at St. Francis on our campus, and that started with our facility. That starts with our space. We had to create a very welcoming, warm, open environment for people to come in, whether you're a veteran gamer or you're a hardcore gamer or you're a brand new gamer and you have no idea what's going on in there, but you see a bunch of people yelling, laughing, having fun, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to go check that out. I want to
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what's going on here. And so when you walk into our space, we have our PCs in like a horseshoe shape. So when you walk in, on your left, straight ahead, and on the right, you'll see 6 PCs against each wall. To your hard right, against our back wall, we have 2 Nintendo Switches. And then in the middle, we have comfortable seating with chargers built into the furniture for your laptops, cell phones, so people can stay a while, hang out, watch their friends play. Some of our students even are able to do their homework in there. I have no idea how that is effective, but they said they like that environment. And so that's what we wanted to hear. Like I said, that's what we wanted the renovation to really do, is create an awesome environment. That comfortable furniture also faces 3 overhead viewing monitors, so our guests can watch games, watch the professionals play. We have awesome watch parties for the last Overwatch Grand Finals. We had about 100 students in there eating pizza, drinking soda, playing Overwatch, um, watching Overwatch. We have RGB lighting throughout the entire space. So during our tryouts or during competitions, we'll make like one side red, one side blue, the
Mm-hmm.
traditional color scheme there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then our big thing that is we have 1 dedicated gig of Cat6 shielded Ethernet to the entire space. And so we wanted to make sure that that experience was flawless for our students. And we still have a little bit of issues on the Nintendo Switches once in a while because we know Nintendo isn't a big fan of the competition piece, but
Mm-hmm.
that's something that we're hopefully will improve moving forward. But beyond that, our connectivity is second to none, and that's something we're really proud about, having that flawless experience for students.
Yeah.
So that's the makeup of the arena,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sure that takes a lot to maintain, and I definitely can't do it myself. I have a fantastic graduate assistant. His name
Mm-hmm.
is Hayden Herc, and he is very familiar with the esports world. When he heard we were doing esports, he's like, "This is an awesome opportunity to continue my education." He is a St. Francis alum from his undergrad. He was also on our men's volleyball team. So he is very familiar with the recruiting process, sports management in general, and just loves the environment of esports. And so he helps me oversee our student staff. And so that's another awesome opportunity for students to get involved in our program. You don't just have to compete. We have shoutcasters, we have arena managers, we have event coordinators. And so these are all students that are either announcing or uh, giving a play-by-play of our events, or even high school events that we have in our facility. Then we have arena managers that we have as work studies in there throughout like the real busy times of the day, like your lunch and dinner hours or later in the evening. And they're in there just to make sure that all the computers and the softwares are updated. And so when someone comes in and sits down to log in, they can play any game that we have loaded up and it's ready to go. They help everyone with logins if they don't have one. For all of our game titles, we actually created 18 accounts for every game. So even if a student doesn't own Overwatch, they can still come in and play on one of our SFU esports accounts, and our arena manager can show them how to do that. Our arena manager then also just opens and closes the facility and makes sure everything's top notch and ready for the next day. Then our event coordinators help us put together some of the high school events that we have on campus. We're going to be holding some showcases over the summer. And before the current situation, state of affairs in the world right now, we're actually planning on hosting the very first high school esports tournament in our region. We had identified about 10 teams to come to our campus to compete in an Overwatch tournament. And that would have been the first of its kind in our area. So we were really bummed that we had to push that back, but we already have plans for that to come up in November before the end of the year.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. I'm excited. I want to come up there to Pennsylvania if I could. um, I think I think traveling right now, like you said, maybe not the best idea. But yeah, I think a lot of things to dissect right there. Just focusing on a few. When you're talking about the support staff, I think that's so incredibly great that you guys provide that for your students. Because a lot of colleges, universities don't have that yet because esports still is so new. And the universities or colleges aren't as eager to jump on the train like it seems it is at St. Francis, to jump on the train of esports and get all that support staff. Because sometimes people, a lot of times I think outside of the community, and you can talk about this, is people look at esports and think about, oh, this is gaming. So they only need one guy that's game before, and they'll be able to help. It's like, no, you need a coach for every game. You need support staff dedicated for those individual games. And then for the esports side of it, the competitive, having an arena manager, having support staff, trainers, and coaches is all part of those moving parts that really show what esports is. I think a great analogy is you have gaming and you have esports. Well, gaming is like playing pickup basketball on your street with your neighbors. And then esports is the NBA Finals. And you kind of showed us where at the collegiate level, how it's equivalent to the NBA Finals of all those moving parts and support staff that you need to be able to, maintain and develop the, a collegiate Division One esports program. So I think that's absolutely phenomenal that you guys have all of that there. That's great for the students as well. So kind of moving past that, you kept talking about recruitment. Now I have a question for you. I've had experience in recruitment for traditional sports. Are there differences for esports? What differences have you come across, or is it, any differences or similarities with recruitment for esports specifically that you guys particularly use to get that top tier talent into your program?
Yeah, certainly. So, like I mentioned, Hayden was a Division I volleyball player here at St. Francis. I myself was recruited for baseball in college, and then my director, former director, was a football player at St. Francis. And so, all three of us really had an idea of what a traditional recruitment process looks like, and so we did our best to try to mimic that and duplicate that experience for esports. The reason for that being is we're to try to help with that learning curve and that gap in terms of gaming and video games and traditional sports. We're at the point where students are receiving more scholarship for esports than for football, baseball, basketball. They're getting some bigger offers. And so we wanted to really show and legitimize the process on our campus of, hey, this process is almost identical to your traditional athletes process for recruitment. It's just that rather than being on a court or on a field, we bring them to our arena and sit them down and watch them play there. But because of that, I also think it's a little easier because of the technology piece. I remember in high school filming a pretty rough highlight video of myself and trying to send CDs out to college coaches and things like that. But now, because of the advancements that we have in technology and how easy it is to film your screen, splice a couple videos together, send a link on YouTube to a coach, or email a coach, say, hey, I'm going to be streaming at this time next week. Would love to see you on my stream if you have any questions. I think it's actually a lot easier to find some of the students that you might be looking for. And that's what we're really happy to be a part of this early, is that we're really expanding the reach of St. Francis. Being a school hidden in Loretto, Pennsylvania, we wanted to have access to students that we might not have had access before. And the esports was another awesome answer for that. And we're getting inquiries from students all over the country. Denver, Florida. We had a group in Missouri reach out to us. And so esports really expands the scope and expands the reach of your recruits and your players for them to have the opportunity to get a college scholarship or be found by a professional organization, or vice versa for colleges or professional organizations to go out there and find the talent or find that player that they're looking for. And so the process itself, in my opinion, is very similar, but I think because of the technology and the platform and the mediums that we're using, it actually makes things a little bit easier.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially because you have your highlight films and stuff in traditional sports, but a lot of coaches still want to go out there and get, that real look, right? Be in person, see their mechanics, see their practice when you're talking about traditional sports, because there's still that difference. But in esports, there is no difference. It literally is recorded gameplay, and you don't have to sit next to them. You can go on a stream and watch them play quite literally as if you were next to them, all through technology. I think there's an interesting question hidden in there too. For the next question is, what advice would you have for those kids or those high school kids that are looking to get to that next level in college, and are part of that recruitment process? Because obviously with recruitment comes that self-image, right? And when you're so easily seen through streaming and social media these days, there's definitely a number of more negative aspects to social media and streaming from that behavior standpoint that some kids don't quite understand the importance of having that good picture. And you say it once, and like you say, it's just as easy to throw together a clip of someone using bad language or being toxic. So what advice would you have for those high school kids to keep that good image up, and and also to that degree, that how important is it in that recruitment process?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, throughout my career, I'm sure you've heard it before, that your character is described by when no one's looking, and I think that's can be said for esports as well, especially because there's some anonymous aspect to it.
Hmm.
Sometimes we have that idea that, oh, it's just my gamer tag, it's my username. They don't really know who I am. But now there's all these databases being built of gamer tags. There's even a list of I saw someone put up about a toxic website. People are like keeping track of who's toxic and who's not online, and so always maintaining that professional persona is 100% first and foremost. We actually had a student that was very skilled in Fortnite, sending us a lot of videos. And after about the third or fourth video, he finally put some questions in the email, just asking like, what are the feedback from these videos I'm sending you? And the first thing I said is that he needs to change the music in the background. It had a lot of inappropriate references, a lot of cuss words and slurs. And I said that's the first thing that you're putting forward of yourself to college coaches, and that's their first judgment they're able to make of you. But I wasn't able to focus on the gameplay because all I could think about was that this is the music that the student chose to represent himself.
Hmm.
And so always maintaining that, always carrying yourself like somebody's looking and someone's watching you at your dream job, or your mom or dad is watching you, however you think your best self is to be at all times, whether that's online or not. And then
Yeah.
also just staying committed, staying dedicated to your game, of course. These games are frustrating. They require a lot of patience,
Hmm.
just like your traditional sports. Again, so many similarities and transferables here. but patience and determination, dedication to these games, especially a game like League of Legends where it changes like every 2 weeks, I think, are the patch updates.
Hmm.
Blizzard coming out with a character every quarter or so. Hearthstone just added all kinds of new stuff to the game with Demon Hunter and Battlegrounds and everything like that. Um, Smash, you have a couple extra characters in there, so that's not hopefully too much when it comes to your lights and heavies. Rocket League's kind of more straightforward, some along with the other sports games, but some of these games that are constantly changing from game developers, you have to make sure that you're staying dedicated to the game, you're making changes to your gameplay, making changes to the characters or the compositions or strategies that you're doing. So
Hmm.
it requires a lot of flexibility. But I think that all can be wrapped up in terms of just saying dedication, going on, checking out the updates to the game, check out the patch notes, changing the way you play, taking the time to learn a new character, taking the time to try a trick off the wall in Rocket League that you never tried before.
Hmm.
Just really having that dedication, just like someone we'd be going, taking 100 foul shots on the court, or taking a bunch of swings off a tee for baseball. All comes to that dedication and carrying yourself appropriately.
Yeah, I think dedication, and also I like it, the word ambition as well. Dedication, and ambition, especially in esports, since it's developing so quickly. If you maintain a high level of dedication and ambition, you're gonna keep following that growth of esports, and you're gonna end up on that top, wherever that may be, whether at a premier university or a professional organization, either or. I think both are great places to end up. But yeah, that dedication is very important to say the least. I think I got time for one last quick question. So you're talking about practice a lot. Um, when looking at a collegiate esports program like yourself, um, the students have a number of other, responsibilities and opportunities on the campus with their coursework. So how do you help them maintain that, work-life balance or student life balance or game life balance, however you want to word it, and making sure that they're still getting quality practice in, they still have enough time to study and pursue their other hobbies or interests, and get some sleep in there somewhere, of course. So how do you guys have set structures, set practice routines? Talk to a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. So that was definitely something that we wanted to make sure we were out ahead of, especially because when we're implementing a program like this, you have all the naysayers that are like, oh, that's all they're going to do is game. That's all they're
Hmm.
going to do is stay in the rooms, not come out. They're not even come to your arena because they're playing in their rooms already. So yeah, we wanted to make sure we had the systems and operations in place to make sure we were offering that quality experience and managing that experience. And so what we did first was in our arena, you can actually only be in there for up to 4 hours a day.
Okay.
After 4 hours, our PCs will automatically log you off, and then our arena managers will go in every day. Whoever works the next day, they'll get a notification of, oh, this person used their 4 hours yesterday. Whoever opens the arena the next morning will give that person another 4 hours for the next day. And so we wanted to make sure that, yeah, they weren't spending in there overnight, they weren't sleeping in there or anything like that.
Hmm.
And then overall, if you're a part of our program as an official player, we tell our players that this is about a 15 to 20 hour a week commitment. So we really set that for them up front. We base that time off of two other college kind of norms when it comes to time, and that being the NCAA's 20 hours a week policy for traditional sports. And then also for work study on our campus, you can't work more than 20 hours a week. And so we just kind of wanted to continue that trend, and that way our students knew coming in what would be expected of them. And so for that 15 to 20 hours, that could be practices, team workouts with our trainer, competitions, tournaments, any combination of those things, or helping with special events or fundraising, anything like that, depending on what we have going on. We typically only have one official competition each week for our team, and then they usually practice 3 or 4 times as a team throughout the week. And so there is a lot of time to for them to manage outside of the classroom still, and maintain that balanced lifestyle, make sure they're eating, getting enough sleep, going to class, and maintaining a balanced lifestyle, getting involved in other things on campus. Our players are involved in a lot of different things on campus, which is awesome to see. We want them to be fully implemented and integrated into our university, and like I said, build up that community. And the way that we're managing the program has been really successful for us, especially with the support from our faculty advisors. We found two of the best advisors that we have on our campus, and we're happy to report that for our first year, our team GPA was a 3.4, which we're really happy about. And that really showed people that, yeah, these aren't just gamers that are going to not go to class and they're not going to engage on campus. They're just staying in their rooms. No, these are students, a lot of students that we might have already had on campus, or the same type of student that we had on campus. It's just that we're giving them a new platform, a new opportunity to engage and proudly represent their university. And so that also gives another motivational factor for them in the classroom, because they know they have to achieve in the classroom in order to compete for us.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. 3.4 GPA is hard for anybody to have in college, and have that average. I can't emphasize enough an average for the program. That's phenomenal. And just talking to those points, having that community sense. I think there's definitely, some kids on campus, and a lot of different campuses across colleges and universities across the world, that have that lack of place to go. I think esports definitely can fill that gap, whether that's just having fun, playing games, having watch parties, like you all have at the arena there at St. Francis, or playing competitively in whatever esports title you're going to pursue. So having those options and having that community around you can build so many good things. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today's podcast. Luke, thank you so much for joining us. There was a lot of great insight in there in explaining the collegiate kind of things for esports. And hopefully the high school students listening to that can kind of see what direction they need to focus on as they continue to grow as an esports player. So real quick, Luke, tell us where we can find yourself, where we can find St. Francis University, and any related information if anyone wants to know a little bit more.
Yeah, awesome. So if anyone's interested in learning more about St. Francis Esports, they can go to francis.edu/esports, and they can find all of our links from there, or you can email me directly at ltrotz, TROTZ, at francis.edu. I'd love to hear from anyone out there that's interested in learning about St. Francis and our esports program.
Awesome. There you guys go. That's where you can find them. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Everybody out there in these unprecedented times, please stay healthy and stay happy and take care of your loved ones, your friends and family, and ultimately stay plugged in.